Welcome to Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel.
Saint Vitus Cathedral Prague, Czechia. Introduction. The Metropolitan Cathedral of Saints Vitus, Wenceslaus and Adalbert, Czech. Metropolitní Katedrála Svatého Víta, Václava Vojtěcha, is a Catholic metropolitan cathedral in Prague and the seat of the Archbishop of Prague. Until 1997, the cathedral was dedicated only to Saint Vitus and is still commonly named only as Saint Vitus Cathedral, Czech, Katedrála Svatého Víta or Svatovitská katedrála. This cathedral is a prominent example of Gothic architecture and is the largest and most important church in the country. Located within Prague Castle and containing the tombs of many Bohemian kings and Holy Roman emperors, the cathedral is under the ownership of the Czech government as part of the Prague Castle complex. Cathedral dimensions are 124 meter x 60 meter, 407 feet x 197 feet. The main tower is 102.8 meter, 337 feet, high. Front towers 82 meter, 269 feet. Arch height 33.2 meter, 109 feet. The magnificent Saint Vitus Cathedral is a vital part of the history of Prague Castle. It was founded in 1344 and took nearly 600 years to be constructed. The grand interiors of this Gothic masterpiece boast a range of wonders, including the beautifully decorated St. Wenceslaus Chapel with the tomb of St. Wenceslaus, the crypt where many Czech kings are buried, and the crown chamber, home to the Bohemian crown jewels. St. Vitus Cathedral is the largest and the most important temple in Prague. Apart from religious services, coronations of Czech kings and queens also took place here. The cathedral is a place of burial of several patron saints, sovereigns, noblemen, and archbishops. The Saint Vitus Cathedral in Prague Castle is one of the most important buildings in the Czech Republic and former Bohemian Kingdom. The gargoyles of Saint Vitus Cathedral were actually created by multiple sculptors. Due to this, you won't find two similar ones on the facade. Even before it was completely built, Saint Vitus Cathedral, Prague, regularly held masses, funerals, and coronations. History of Saint Vitus Cathedral Prague, Czechia. Saint Vitus Cathedral is a Gothic masterpiece located in Prague, Czech Republic. Its construction began in 1344 under the patronage of Charles IV, the Holy Roman Emperor and King of Bohemia. Matthias of Arras designed it, and later by Peter Parler, who also designed the Charles Bridge and other notable buildings in Prague. The cathedral is named after Saint Vitus, a Christian martyr from the 4th century. During the Hussite Wars in the 15th century, the cathedral was damaged and remained unfinished for centuries. It was in the 19th century that the cathedral was finally completed. Saint Vitus Cathedral symbolized Czech national pride and was the site of many important events in Czech history, including the coronations of Czech kings and queens. The cathedral is the burial place of several patron saints and Czech kings, including Saint Wenceslaus, the Duke of Bohemia, and Charles IV. Today, Saint Vitus Cathedral remains a vital part of the religious and cultural life of the Czech state. Its architecture and rich history make it a popular tourist destination and an important symbol of Czech identity. The construction of the present-day Gothic cathedral started on November 21, 1344. King John of Bohemia laid the foundation stone for the new building, and construction later continued under the reign of Charles IV. Matthew of Arras and Peter Parler were the two architects who worked on the construction of Saint Vitus Cathedral in Prague Castle. However, the construction work came to halt when a new king, Charles's son Wenceslaus IV, came to power. Moreover, when the Hussite War broke out in 1419, St. Vitus Church stood unfinished for almost 600 years. The war and a destructive fire heavily damaged parts of the cathedral and its furnishings. Built over a time span of almost 600 years, St. Vitus is one of the most richly endowed cathedrals in Central Europe. It is pivotal to the religious and cultural life of Czechia, housing treasures that range from the 14th century mosaic of the Last Judgment and the tombs of Saint Wenceslaus and Charles IV to the Baroque silver tomb of Saint John of Nepomuc. The ornate chapel of Saint Wenceslaus and Art Nouveau stained glass by Alphonse Mucha. At first glance, the cathedral's western facade, which looms above the entrance to the third courtyard, looks impressively Gothic, but in fact the triple doorway dates only from 1953, making it one of the last parts of the church to be completed. The foundation stone was laid in 1344 by Emperor Charles IV on the site of a 10th-century Romanesque rotunda built by Duke Wenceslaus. Charles's original architect, Matthias of Arras, Matthias Ciaresu, began work in 1344 on the choir in the French Gothic style, but died 8 years later. His German successor, Peter Parler, a veteran of Cologne's cathedral, completed most of the eastern part of the cathedral in a freer, late Gothic style before he died in 1399. Renaissance and Baroque details were added over the following centuries, but it was only in 1861, during the Czech National Revival, that a concerted effort was made to finish the cathedral. Everything between the western door and the crossing was built during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It was finally consecrated in 1929. The cathedral is the third church consecrated to the same saint on the same site. Around the year 925, Prince Wenceslaus, Václav, founded a Romanesque rotunda here, which after 1060 was converted into a basilica with 3 naves and 2 steeples. The importance of the church grew especially after the establishment of the Prague bishopric in 973 and the founding of the body of canons, the Saint Vitus chapter, which later became an important cultural and administrative institution. In 1344, Charles IV began the construction of a Gothic cathedral. Its first builders, Matthias of Arras and later Peter Parler, built the chancel with a ring of chapels, St. Wenceslaus Chapel, the Golden Gate and the lower part of the Great South Tower. It was already Peter Parler who started the construction of the South Tower, however he did not complete it. In the 16th century, it was finished with a Renaissance view gallery and a helmet. Later in the 18th century, the older helmet was replaced by a new dome. Unfortunately, in 1419 the construction of the cathedral stopped because of the Hussite Wars. In spite of the endeavors of some sovereigns to secure the continuation of the construction work, the cathedral remained uncompleted for whole centuries. The facade of the cathedral was provisionally closed and, for example, the music choir was built. It was not until the latter half of the 19th century that the Union for the completion of the cathedral began the repair of the original part and the completion of the cathedral in Neo-Gothic style. The church was solemnly consecrated in 1929. Its interior was subjected to adaptations even in later years. Visitors enter the cathedral through the portal in the western facade, opposite the passageway between the second and third courtyard of Prague Castle. Its bronze door is decorated with reliefs with scenes from the history of the cathedral and from the legends about Saint Wenceslaus and Saint Adalbert. The neo-Gothic part of the cathedral consists of the main nave and the narrow side aisles, lined with chapels, and the northern wing of the transverse nave. The chapels have stained glass windows. In the cross nave, the ceremonial entrance into the cathedral can be seen, the Golden Gate, leading to the third courtyard. Situated in the chancel of the cathedral, in front of the high altar, is the royal mausoleum below which there is the royal crypt. The chancel is surrounded by a ring of Gothic chapels. Recent history. In 1997, on 1000th anniversary of the death of Saint Adalbert, the patrocinium dedication of the church was rededicated to Saint Wenceslaus and Saint Adalbert. The previous Romanesque basilica had this triple patrocinium to the main Bohemian patrons since 1038 when relics of Saint Adalbert were placed here. The skull of Saint Adalbert is kept at the Hilbert Treasury. In 1954, a government decree entrusted the whole Prague Castle into ownership of all Czechoslovak people and into administration of the president's office. Beginning in 1992, after the Velvet Revolution, the church filed several petitions requesting a determination on the true owner of the structure. After 14 years, in June 2006, the city court in Prague decided that the 1954 decree did not change the ownership of the cathedral, and the owner is the Metropolitan chapter at Saint Vitus. In September 2006, the president's office ceded the administration to the Metropolitan chapter. However, in February 2007, the Supreme Court of the Czech Republic reversed the decision of the city court and returned the case to the Common Court. In September 2007, the District Court of Prague 7 decided that the cathedral is owned by the Czech Republic. This decision was confirmed by the city court in Prague, and the Constitutional Court rejected the appeal of the Metropolitan chapter, however noted that the chapter unquestionably owns the interior furnishings of the cathedral. The Metropolitan chapter considered continuing the case in the European Court for Human Rights. However, in May 2010, the new Prague Archbishop Dominik Duka and the state president Václav Klaus together declared that they did not wish to continue with court conflicts. They constituted that the 7 persons who are traditionally holders of the keys of the St. Wenceslaus chamber with the Bohemian crown jewels become also a board to coordinate and organize administration and use of the cathedral. However, controversy about ownership of some related canonry houses continues. In July 2012, the Chamber of Deputies passed a bill to compensate the churches for property seized by the communist government. The Senate approved the bill in November 2012, and the government implemented it the following June after clearing legal challenges. Architecture of Saint Vitus Cathedral Prague. Architectural styles: Gothic architecture. Architects: Peter Parler, Matthias of Arras, Joseph Macher, Kamil Hilbert, Joseph Kroner, Wenzel Parler, Johann Parler. Saint Vitus Cathedral is a perfect example of Gothic architecture. The exterior of the cathedral is characterized by its tall spires, intricate carvings, and flying buttresses. The cathedral's main facade is dominated by the monumental west window, which is the largest in Europe. The window features intricate tracery in stunning stained glass, depicting scenes from the Bible and the life of Saint Vitus. The interior of the cathedral is equally impressive, with its tall nave and vaulted ceilings, adorned with intricate ribbing and decorations. The nave features a stunning rose window, which is one of the most impressive pieces of stained glass in the world. The cathedral's choir is home to the stunning St. Wenceslaus Chapel, which features a beautiful mosaic depicting the life of the patron saint of the Czech Republic. Prague Castle is one of the biggest tourist attractions in the city. This complex is the largest of its kind in the world, and people visit to marvel at the sight. Inside the castle complex lies Saint Vitus Cathedral, the biggest cathedral in the Czech Republic and a wonder of Gothic architecture. The Saint Vitus Cathedral is named after the saint, Saint Vitus, and was commissioned by Holy Roman Emperor Charles IV. Its construction began in the mid-13th century and came to a grinding halt in the early 1400s due to ongoing wars. It was finally completed in 1929, but would continue to be remodeled even after this date. In both the exterior and interior of the building, one can see all Gothic architecture's trademarks. The whole of the cathedral embodies the grand, lofty look that characterizes the style and spire's aid in giving it additional height. Flying buttresses, which act as support beams and allow for a more stable structure, are also utilized. Ornate stone detailing, called tracery, can be found throughout the exterior. The inside of St. Vitus Cathedral also exhibits the Gothic style's hallmarks, and it is, in a word, stunning. Natural light is allowed to flood in through stained glass windows, some of which were designed by Art Nouveau artists. The stained glass in the northern part of the cathedral, created by Alphonse Mucha, is particularly remarkable in its vivid colors. It depicts portraits of saints and episodes from their lives. The same intricate tracery utilized on the exterior of the building can also be found lining the interior. These large windows are possible due to the pointed arches that line the inside of the building, as they provide additional support and negate the need for a solid wall. This type of arch had been utilized by different cultures due to their strength, and was used by Gothic architects as a way to build tall, airy structures. Additional stability is given by the ribbed vaulting on the ceiling. But the Saint Vitus Cathedral holds more cultural significance than just its beautiful appearance. It also contains a chapel that features the tomb of Saint Wenceslaus. Beyond the chapel is the crown chamber, where the Bohemian crown jewels, like the Wenceslaus crown and the royal scepter, are kept under heavy surveillance. The royal mausoleum lies under the cathedral and contains the tombs of past emperors and empresses. Regular services are still held inside the cathedral, and free tours are available as well as paid ones. Should you ever visit historic Prague Castle, stepping inside the Saint Vitus Cathedral to view the impressive architecture, beautiful stained glass windows, and a piece of Czech culture is a necessity. Cathedral's exterior. The front with two slender towers is decorated with 14 statues of saints, Charles IV and Archbishop Arnost of Pardubice on pillars. 3 portals with tympanons decorated with reliefs according to models of Karel Dvořák lead to the main aisle, with bronze doors with cast reliefs by Otakar Spaniel. The rosette window above the portal with a diameter of 10 meters has been created according to cartons of František Kazila on the theme of world's creation from 1921. The ceremonious entrance to the temple is located in the southern front at the third courtyard, the so-called Golden Door. It is decorated with unique Gothic Italian-type mosaic on the theme of the Last Judgment with a depiction of Charles IV and his wife Elizabeth of Pomerania. Created during the years 1370 to 1371 by anonymous mosaic makers from approximately 1 million of glass pieces and marbles in more than 30 color shades. Within the entrance, there is a modern bronze grille decorated with reliefs of a calendar and zodiac signs made by Jaroslav Horejk in 1955. On this side, the southern observation tower rises up 287 steps, with a Renaissance gallery 56 meter high and a Baroque Picasso's cupola to which a 3.5 meter high gold-plated lion is attached. The unfinished tower from 1419 was completed by Boniface Wilmot and Hans Tyrol in 1560-1562 after the Hussite Wars. The tower is also called the Great Bell Tower. Cathedral's interiors. Saint Vitus Cathedral is imposing in its size. The length is 124 meters, the maximum width 60 meters, and the height of the vaults is 33 meters. 28 columns support the vaults. A wreath of 19 chapels surrounds the side aisles. Stained glass windows are from 1925 to 1939. They were created by Max Swabiński, František Kazila, Alphonse Mucha, Karl Smolenský, and others. Many Czech dukes and kings, including Charles IV and Rudolf II, bishops, archbishops, and other high-ranking officials are buried here. According to the 14th century traditions, only the highest representatives of state and church could be buried in the cathedral. Despite this, we can find gravestones of the builders, Matthias of Arras and Petr Parler, in the Waldstein Chapel. Also for saints Saint Sigismund, Saint Adalbert, Saint John of Nepomuk, and Saint Wenceslaus are buried in the cathedral. Organ. The Saint Vitus Cathedral has 2 organ casings. The upper facade belonged to a Baroque organ, which was built in 1765 by Anton Gartner. It had 40 stops on 3 manuals and pedals. This case is purely decorative. The associated work was transported around 1909 and was lost. The lower neoclassical casing contains today's main organ. It was built by Joseph Melzel in the years 1929 to 31. A general overhaul was carried out by the organ builder Brachtel Akansky, 1999 to 2001. The rather modest instrument in relation to the large church space has 58 stops on 3 manuals and pedals, 4,475 pipes in total. The action is purely pneumatic. With a large number of basic pipes, flutes and principals, and little reeds, trumpets, the instrument has a rather gentle tone, a typical feature of post-Romantic organs. The stained glass windows. Immerse yourself in the mesmerizing beauty of Saint Vitus Cathedral's stained glass windows. These kaleidoscopic works of art depict biblical scenes and saints, flooding the interior with a glorious array of hues. Witness the interplay of light and color that creates a truly enchanting ambience. The Royal Mausoleum. The Royal Mausoleum is where Czech kings and queens found their eternal repose. Pay homage to the illustrious rulers who shaped the nation's history as you wander through this solemn space. The tombs, adorned with exquisite stone carvings, serve as a poignant reminder of the monarchy's legacy. The Great South Tower. Ascend the Saint Vitus Cathedral Tower to catch breathtaking panoramic views of Prague. Climb the winding staircase, and your efforts will be rewarded with a sweeping vista of the city's rooftops, spires, and the majestic Vltava River. This bird's-eye view will leave you in awe of Prague's architectural splendor. The Golden Portal. Prepare to be awestruck as you pass through the magnificent Golden Portal. This ornate entrance, adorned with intricate sculptures and gilded details, welcomes visitors with regal splendor. Step into a world where craftsmanship meets grandeur and makes you feel like royalty. The Main Nave. Enter the majestic main nave of the cathedral, where soaring ceilings and towering columns create a sense of heavenly grandeur. Let your gaze wander upwards and be captivated by the intricate ribbed vaults that seem to touch the heavens themselves. The Crown Jewels. Marvel at the glittering crown jewels, displayed in all their regal glory. These symbols of Czech sovereignty include the crown of Saint Wenceslaus, the royal scepter, and the coronation mantle. Let the magnificence of these priceless treasures transport you to a time of kings and queens. The Giant Bell. Listen for the resounding toll of the giant bell, the sonorous heartbeat of Saint Vitus Cathedral. This colossal bell, named Sigismund, weighs a staggering 15 tons and is an emblem of Czech national pride. Let its deep resonance reverberate within you, filling you with a sense of awe and reverence. Tomb of Saint John of Nepomuk. In a silver tomb adorned with Baroque statues lies Saint Nepomuk, priest and martyr, whose statue stands on Charles Bridge. He is the patron saint of the Czech Republic. Drowned in the Vltava River at the behest of King Wenceslaus, he became the first Czech martyr. Significance of Saint Vitus Cathedral. Saint Vitus Cathedral is not only a symbol of architectural brilliance but also an important cultural and religious landmark. The cathedral has been the site of numerous important events throughout its history, including the coronation of Czech kings and queens. It also houses the tombs of several Bohemian kings, including Charles IV and Wenceslaus IV. Saint Vitus Cathedral is also an important pilgrimage site for Catholics and a must-visit destination for tourists. Completion of the cathedral. It took a long 585 years before the St. Vitus Cathedral was actually completed. The temple, in the construction of which more than a dozen of the greatest architects of its time participated, was consecrated and officially opened on September 28, 1929 in the presence of President Tomáš Garriga Masaryk and Archbishop František Kordak. Saint Vitus Cathedral today. Saint Vitus Cathedral has witnessed countless significant events, including royal coronations, weddings, and even religious services through the centuries. It has survived wars, political changes, and the test of time, standing tall as a testament to the city's enduring spirit and faith. The Saint Vitus Cathedral architecture is considered a stunning work of art today, attracting millions of visitors annually. Its soaring spires and majestic facade dominate the Prague skyline, beckoning all who come to explore its hallowed halls. Beyond its sheer beauty, the Saint Vitus Cathedral holds immense cultural and religious importance. It remains the seat of the Archbishop of Prague, symbolizing the spiritual heart of the Czech Republic. Annual Feast Day. Feast Day, June 15th. The annual feast day of the Church of Saint Vitus Cathedral Prague, Czechia is celebrated on June 15th each year. Mass timing. Summer season, April 1st to October 31st. Timings. Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Winter season, November 1st to March 31st. Timings. Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Sunday, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Closed on December 24th. Contact info. Saint Vitus Cathedral. 3. Nadvory 48 halves. Prague Castle 11901 Prague 1, Prague, Czechia. Connectivities. Airway. The nearest airport to the Church of Saint Vitus Cathedral Prague, Czechia is Václav Havel Airport Prague, which is just 20 minutes, 12.0 kilometers, via Evropska away from the Basilica. Railway. The nearest railway to the Church of Saint Vitus Cathedral Prague, Czechia, Prague Main Railway Station, Vinohrady, which is just 10 minutes, 5.6 kilometers, via Neighbor. Benice away from the Basilica.
If you wish to know more about Catholic shrine basilicas, Marian shrines and Marian apparitions, subscribe to our Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Like and share with your loved ones. For more churches website www.catholicshrinebasilica.com.